Shiv, we're seeing images of the French President Emmanuel Macron, who's just touched down in Tel Aviv. This, of course, another very high-level visit from a world leader to Israel, showing solidarity after Joe Biden, Rishi Sunak, the German and Italian counterparts of the leaders as well, who touched down in Tel Aviv. How do you see this visit? Because there's a very tough and a fine balancing act that France needs to do and the French president needs to do between the pro-Israel Anglo-American stance and line that he's adopted as far as this conflict is concerned, and then, of course, the traditional pro-Arab line that France has stood.
You're right, Pauline. I think Emmanuel Macron, the French president, probably has a much tighter tightrope to walk, proverbially speaking, than perhaps any of the other European countries. Like you said, we had Giorgia Meloni of Italy, we had Olaf Scholz of Germany speaking out as well. But as far as France is concerned, given its particularly high population of immigrants, given the violence that has taken place in Paris and other parts of France recently, domestic politics is also going to have to weigh on Macron's mind. Like Geeta said, I think it's going to be interesting to see whether Macron uses this visit to focus it completely on solidarity with Israel, or also meet other leaders, include Mahmoud Abbas of the Palestinian Authority, and maybe other regional leaders as well. Remember, even Secretary of State of the United States, Antony Blinken, when he'd come to Israel, also was supposed to visit Jordan. That got cancelled from the Jordanian side, owing to the rising mood within the Arab world. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But France is unique as far as Europe is concerned, Western Europe is concerned, because of its open door policy as far as immigrants is concerned. It's got a very high population of Palestinians. There have been widespread protests in different, French cities over the last few days. Pro-Hamas, pro-Palestinian, rioting and protests that have taken place in Paris and other places. And therefore, Macron's not going to have an eye only on his meeting with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. He also will have to think about how it looks back home. That's the nature of all of these visits, Polami, and we've seen them one after the other. We're seeing it even with someone like, President Joe Biden. The focus today, of course, is going to be on Macron as far as the diplomatic steps are concerned. But if you track everything that someone like a President Joe Biden is concerned, if we're talking about the international world order and the West, his messaging has been, constantly talking about the two-state solution, the right to statehood for Palestine, constantly stressing on the need to avert an all-out humanitarian crisis in Gaza. The sort of Democrat in Joe Biden, after the initial days of sending in aircraft carriers, has emerged, because remember, he's got a election to fight as well. So all of these leaders, and I think it makes a story entirely by itself, and I think your question is pertinent in that regard, that each of these leaders that is coming to show solidarity with Israel is also reflecting their own domestic compulsions. And those domestic compulsions in France's case, as we've just seen over the last few days and weeks, are not small by any measure. There are many places, many pockets of France, that have enormous immigrant populations, including Palestinian populations, Arab populations, and those are no longer, just quote-unquote immigrant populations. These are people with residency permits, these are people with rights, these are people with voting, they've got adult franchise as well, and therefore all of these little nitty-gritty domestic compulsions come roaring at Emmanuel Macron, no matter what he does in Israel today. Obviously, all of these countries have to show solidarity with Israel. The scale of what happened on October the 7th meant that nobody is going to be able to, sit strictly on one side. But I think it's going to be interesting to see whether he also visits the Palestinian president.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be one of the focuses as far as this visit is concerned, though there's no official confirmation